Greetings to you all and welcome to Mono Dialogues with Mackenzie. I'm your host Marlies Mackenzie and I'm here with some lovely people. I'm with my co-host Pt.1. I'm with Macintosh, the host of Safe Space, and I'm with a producer here and videographer. He's remember the guy in the crew like last week that spoke? That's him, y'all. That's him. So yeah, man. How are y'all feeling?
Feeling good. It's a Friday, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely everyone's feeling good. Exams, we're done with exams, etc., etc. I think we're feeling good. The sun's up.
I'm feeling good too. Looking good, and I'd like to correct my niece. I am a musician. Yeah, two-tone AP
On the mic.
Yeah.
But aren't you a musician? Okay, musician is everything, right?
Yeah.
Everything music.
Yeah, I'm an artist. I'm a creative.
Yeah, creative. Okay, cool.
But two-tone AP, I make music.
The plugin. Cool. What are you expecting to learn today? Because we're talking about matriarchal societies, and also we're gonna delve into the difference between matriarchy and patriarchy and all of that. So, what are you expecting now that we haven't gotten into the subject, but yeah, what are you expecting to get from this? What are you hoping we kind of uncover, discuss about this, and what point do you hope we get at?
I think all of us here can agree that we understand the concept of patriarchy, right? But what's important to mention now in this conversation is matriarchy. I think I didn't know that even existed. I didn't even know that there were societies in which matriarchy existed. And just the concept of matriarchy. How does matriarchy coexist with patriarchy? Is that even possible? Those are the conversations that I want us to engage in today, because just in general, patriarchy, we do know patriarchy exists in a broad scale, right? But when we include matriarchy, what we've seen is that it really exists only in a small scale, And in societies, what we've seen is that it exists in dynamics such as family more often, and not factors such as religion, politics, etc. So that's what I want us to uncover as, do they exist in these other dynamics, or is it just in the concept of family? But yeah, it's gonna be a fruitful conversation, can't be.
I'm happy that as the youth, as young people, we are here to highlight matriarchy, because it's always been in our society, but then at a certain time it did get suppressed. And as young people, I'm just happy that we're here talking about it so that other young people can talk about it, because this patriarchy thing and matriarchy thing we should all just be people out here.
So, ma'am, would you like to define patriarchy, keywords for us? Patriarchy, matriarchy, matrilocal, matrilinear, all of that, the focal, yeah. Just the key points so there is no confusion as we continue.
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to define matriarchy. So matriarchy, according to Google, is a system of society or government ruled by a woman or women, right? So this also goes the same for patriarchy, where it is a system of government ruled by men, So, and then we have matrilineal, which is the tracing of kinship through the female line. It may also correlate with a social system in which each person is identified with their matrilineal line, their mother's lineage, and which can involve the inheritance of property or titles. So this is the opposite of what society does, where in instance, let's say generational inheritance, where sons are most likely to take over their father's business, but in matriarchy, daughters are most likely to take over. So in this position, daughters inherits, and patriarchy, sons inherits. So then we also have matrilocal, which is matrilocal residence or matrilocality is the societal system in which married couples reside with or near the wife's parents. Thus, the female offspring of a mother remain living in the mother's house, thereby forming large clan families, typically consisting of 3 or 4 generations living in the same place. So, according to my understanding, this means that, for instance, it's where basically one family lives within the mother's family. So if you get married, right, you're now living at your mother's place and your offspring lives there. So it's like generational. So it's basically that's what matriarchal is. And then a matrifocal family is a family structure where mothers head families and fathers play a less important role in the home in upbringing the children. So this means that mothers play a more leading role in terms of how they're raising up their children, and fathers play the less subordinate role of their contribution to the family. So yeah.
Can I ask a question? Don't you feel like that's what's happening by default? Like deadbeat dad vibes. Like South Africa, is it patriarchal or matriarchal?
Politically patriarchal, socially, or what's living that word?
Yeah, especially.
Matriarchal.
Yeah, because a lot of us are raised by our mothers and grandmothers.
But then, okay. But I think matrifocal necessarily, it's that thing of like both parents are living in the house, but the mother she takes up the role, like she chooses to play the role of leading the family. So it's not in the terms of like deadbeat dad or a dad that chooses to lead, because matrifocal wouldn't apply to that context. So yeah, that's just like.
So the first question that we should also solve is that why does matriarchy exist in smaller societies? I mean, to what extent do we want power to the concept of matriarchy? Because that's what it is. It's power. Right?
It is power.
It is power.
Both genders are fighting for power.
Both genders are fighting for power.
Yeah.
Is there something that we can call neutral, where we say patriarchy, matriarchy, we come together, we coexist?
That's
I think
where
so.
I'm hoping we get there.
It's
Can we
very-
get there?
We
can.
can, but it's gonna take a lot of
can.
effort. It's gonna take a lot of effort and intention
Yes.
from both genders, because
Literally.
firstly we're selfish, and we have this thing where we want to be above the other, we want to be better than the other, we want to be heard. So we have this inherent need for power and control. So instead, I would like for you to be my puppet. So it can happen, definitely it is a possibility. However, how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
It means we have to die to our ego and our pride.
Literally.
Are we willing to do that? That is the question. What are the benefits of this? Because really, like, there could be so much greatness, and I don't think that the world would be suffering as much as it is now if we could actually just coexist with each other. Which is why actually, like, in most these things, and like throughout this whole podcast journey, we've been trying to like find neutral ground, that we do not have to agree with each other on everything, but can we find a common thing that we can like hold on to? Specifically, or rather an example could be how we've been talking about straight people and gay people. We don't have to agree with how we're living, because like we are not going to get to a point where I'm able to convince you otherwise. Can we just like get to this point where we can find neutral ground and coexist together in harmony? So that is basically the same thing right now with like the patriarchal system and the matriarchal system. Can we find common ground? And common ground would be the survival of the human species, the human race, peace in the world, and all of that. Can we do that? How are we going to get to that point?
I think we need to go back to culture, because and I think patriarchy exists because of male egos becoming like, because obviously in the world we live in, if I'm stronger than you, then I'm gonna be more successful, and that had a ripple effect throughout history. So now we're at this point. But if you go back to, especially in Africa, the queen mother, the king's mother, she had a lot of influence in decisions. The wives of the king would be in the meetings. They would have a lot of say. And even now, the wife, she can convince her husband to do whatever. And that's why I think we still have matriarchy. We just don't acknowledge it. And fine, and politically there isn't any, or there is, but it's not there. But socially, the women do make a lot of decisions. They have a way of getting their way.
Yeah.
But then now we
that's
must
very
just like acknowledge it, and we must go back to culture where your mother, she tells you what to do and you're going to do it. Even if you're old, your mother she can hit you. Some things that your father wouldn't really do, even if he's in the picture, your father will sit you down and talk to you. But your mother has a way of influencing you. And women are very important. They cook our food, they cook a traditional beer. Women are a very important part of African culture. So I don't know if I want to say it's colonization, but then at some point in time, male egos did dominate, and then that had a ripple effect, which we can still correct.
So so what is the standpoint? Are we saying matriarchy is the way to go? Do you think matriarchy is fit for today's society?
In a perfect, ideal world, it will exist, but not in the current impact.
Why not?
My thing is, do we notice that basically matriarchy is literally patriarchy. Like specifically, there are the six societies which now exist. This is from an article by Sarah Mabuso or someone. I might be mispronouncing her surname there. And we spoke of they speak of the Masao of China, they speak of the Umoja of Kenya, they speak of the ones from Indonesia, Mexico, I think. The Akan of Ghana, and I'm particularly interested in the Umoja of Kenya and the Akan of Ghana, right? And specifically with my interest with the Umoja is because you see the need for survival. It started because of survival, because women needed to survive, because they were fleeing from men who were raping them. So it's a survival-based society. And as a result, I would say it incited hatred for men, and fear as well. Maybe the hatred was a manifestation of the fear that they had for men because they were not protected in that patriarchal society. Yesterday I was having a conversation with someone, and remember how our former president Kgosigadimackk won the race case against Kwesi, saying that if you come at my house after the sun has set, it is my obligation as a Zulu man to do as I please with your body.
Culture.
So we use such things, and I'm like, do you literally see that women had to flee from this because they had to survive? Because there's this dominance that men have over us, men who do not understand what it means to be men. So it's those kind of things. So specifically with this one, it was started, I think, by a group of 15 women, and it's been growing. I don't know, this article was from 2019, so of course we'd need to get a 2022 update on how they're surviving. But it was started in 1990 by 15 women, and it's been growing since. So they're taking women who are in abusive relationships, who've been raped, and men are banned in that village. So now imagine how serious this has to be for you to be banned as a male person from entering this space. So now how do we create a safer society for women, not just in Africa, although I would like for us to focus on Africa, but then globally? How do we create a safe space for women, and how do we get these two? Because when you think about the power that this matriarchal society has, and the power that the patriarchal society thereof has, it's really these women just exist.
Yeah.
It's not a strong society. They're just there because they need to survive. That is my point.
But another question that we should ask ourselves is do women know how to achieve power?
I think they do, but then we are misguided in how we achieve our power. And right now, me saying that we're misguided in how we achieve our power is because I'm looking at the society in which we live now. this current day and age, which is, in order for me to achieve my power, I'm going to do it sexually. I'm going to do it sexually, or like accuse you of rape or something. But like it's either those two things. Like there are women who like go and like achieve their power, claim their power by being like these intellectual people, like being these true beings, authentic people to themselves. But hey man,
So
not
basically,
all of us.
so
So
basically
we
the
can.
evidence is there. It is there that matriarchy can exist in a way, and that women can take their power. They're just not taking their power. And even and in most instances, when a lot of women start taking their power, they're doing it by, doing it using, shall I call it, men's tactics, right?
It's like you're telling a black person that yeah, you can take your land. We all know that there's a process to that. Why aren't you taking your land?
Exactly. Why aren't you taking
Yeah,
your
why
land?
aren't you taking your land? I'm asking you as a black man. Why aren't you taking
Those
your land?
conversations.
I think women can achieve their power. It goes back to the strong will always prevail. So a woman that is strong and like a woman that is
Yeah,
mentally stronger,
yeah,
a woman that is like
Right.
mentally strong, like
right?
a guy,
Yeah,
she will thrive.
She'll thrive.
You'll see her even in business. That's how you say it, intellectual, because she's thinking like a man. You're saying men's tactics, né? But then that's just because in this society you have to dominate to achieve your power.
My problem.
But
Okay.
I think we can achieve
Equality.
yeah, because look,
no.
look,
Guys,
Say
one
right
at a time, one at a time.
look,
Please.
but it will be like this, but it will still always end up 100% because God, right? It's not Christian God, just the Creator created a man and a woman. You can't carry on human existence without a man and a woman together, right? So, dude, I think it goes back to this. Shout out to woman king or queen.
Yeah.
You see, and that's why I always say, as much as it's for the whole world, I always go back to African things. If leadership was always just a man and a woman, sit, because the man has qualities that are manly, like dominance and all these things like perseverance and all those things that women may lack on. But then women also have other things like decision making and emotional intelligence. So if all parts of leadership had a man and a woman, if that was the base of every single thing that we do, man and a woman, because that's how the creator did it. Yeah, I think that's how we could do it.
My chat is, I think the reason why I don't like matriarchy is, for instance, fine, sharp, right? Like women are essential, yes, I acknowledge that. Women play a very key role in like certain aspects of society, yes, I acknowledge that. But like the Umoja system, like how, yes, women were raped and stuff like that, and now they decided that, like, you know what, we're gonna live in our own land, we're not trash, we cancel them, right? My problem is that we are raising, for instance, in sociology, there's hegemonic masculinity, right? Where society basically defines what a man is, right? And I remember we were doing an essay about gender-based violence, and for instance, like why women don't report cases and stuff like that. But like throughout that research, like I just saw how society plays a role in defining men, right? So in terms of matriarchy, now matriarchy is excluding men, and they're literally like degrading men, tearing them down, and instead of them encouraging and allowing men to embrace their true masculinity, right? Because yes, we are living in a world where toxic masculinity is the same as toxic femininity, but where does the future go with men as well? Like what are we doing? What generation are we creating where we're tearing men down and excluding them, all for the sake of advocating women and promoting women and all of that? Because we can see it now with femininity. We can see it now with women, modern femininity, dark femininity, light femininity, radical feminists, where they're saying men are trash, right?
I hear you, Nick. I hear you, and I partly agree with you. But when it comes to the Umoja, I disagree with you because, like I said, it is mainly for survival. So yes, it is kind of leading to the extinction of humanity, right? Because, like you said, we need both men and women to procreate. So, but the Umoja specifically, I wouldn't necessarily say they are tearing men down. I understand how we get to that standpoint, but they are fleeing from this. So rather, maybe let's start a dialogue. Us being the people from the Umoja clan or social system, society, and the patriarch of that place, and try to like maybe have some sort of conversation and negotiation and dialogue as to how we can move forward and how we can educate men on how to treat women and how women can treat men. But then we can also look at the Akan of Ghana, who like men are in lesser positions where women dominate, but then men are more like the advisors or they have like leadership positions. Then in that case, then I can understand how you're getting to your logic. But I do not necessarily agree with specifically to the Umoja people doing that. But then if we're talking about general feminism, then definitely I 100% agree with you because that is what we're doing. After the first wave, things have been going weird.
Yes.
Things have been like, how is this serving me? Am I on top? Which also speaks back to the selfishness element of what we were talking about, essentially. So I don't really think it's just perspective and like let's not overgeneralize. This is a general conversation, but let's not generalize. Let's look at like this specific society and why they are doing what they're doing. And how did they get to the point? So now how do we try and take them out of that? Because reality is if they continue like that, they are going to get extinct. Because that means there's no procreation. Remember, men are bent there.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
men are literally excluded. So in their world is women.
But
women,
why are they
men,
excluded?
I understand that, but let's use South Africa for example. South Africa is the #1 rape country in the world. Like research says that. But now, let's say for instance, South Africa is like, okay, no, men will exclude you guys. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
now
it
we're
sounds like
literally
you are like it's justified. Like you're like, I understand the compassionate part of this, but can you understand what these women? It's like, are they given a choice? Of which they are not given a choice, right? But like we can look at what is it? Women as king, women king.
Yeah, women king.
And how when they got like the female soldiers, they were like, if you get here, you are to bear no child, you are not to marry, and all of that. And if you're against that and would like to do that, you can leave. So that can be the case then. Like women who like have no interest in that, then they can leave. But then my main thing is let's coexist. Like you were talking about how having a king and a queen would like make things much easier because reality is I don't believe in equality, but I think that these two parties work as a team and they advise each other.
That's equality.
So what I want is that these people come together, these two societies, whoever the leaders are, or if it's gonna be a whole panel discussion, how do we move outside of the society that we have and how do we ensure that the black man continues to exist? Because you realize that if they die, the whole black race is also at a disadvantage. We are at the danger of extinction.
But that's what you said in the first beginning. You said we need to set aside our egos.
Exactly.
Because the same thing with racism. Like I feel like patriarchy, it's the same thing with racism, whereas we have been conditioned. Yes, guys. History does say white people did bad things. I know that. We all know that, we've been taught that. But now it's come to a point where now the roles have switched where black people are racist. And we don't want to admit that. Because we've been conditioned our whole lives that the black person is the victim and all of that. You can't forgive the white people and stuff like that. But now that we live in the 21st century, black people are being racist and we don't want to admit that.
You know what I think it is though? It's also with the men are trash. I don't think men are trash is a bad thing. If you trash, bro. If you know you're not trash, then you know and you're gonna sleep peacefully with that. So it goes back like you're not going to pamper your feelings now when you've wronged for a very long time. Now, when we're trying to correct you, now you want us to pamper your feeling and be like, oh, but nah, dog, okay, me, I'm not pushing racism, but like there's obvious economic, social, and just
evidence that
of
this thing
that
continues to exist.
colonization because of Europeans, not colonization because of anyone else, because of Europeans has put us here post 1994, post 2000, post 2010, post 2020, 2022. We're still living in it.
And it's a scar, it's a wound that's going to take quite a long time to heal.
We're not happy about it. So we're not going to necessarily be hateful about it, but we can't pamper European feelings about our land and stuff, but we also can't pamper males' feelings that they're raping old women, children.
But the main point here is that we can all gather from racism, patriarchy, and matriarchy is that all of these people use their power and they abuse it. And because of that, we are now living in the ripple effects of that. Matriarchy abused their power, women were suppressed, women were raped, and all of that.
So how do we move on from that?
It's basically what you were saying. We need to set it. I believe those two can coexist. I believe black and white can coexist. It's just that we need to understand the power that we have, but yet not abuse it, but use it to benefit one another. You understand what I'm saying? Because yes, we do live in an unfair world. We don't live in an ideal, perfect world where everyone is equal, male and female, black and white, colored, whatnot. We do live in an unfair society, but I do believe that we can both coexist with one another. We don't have to drag each other down. We don't have to tear each other down and make sure that I'm superior, you inferior, and all of that. It doesn't have to be like that.
And you know, what I think is that if we ever want to move forward, we have to understand that first, there's going to be the one that's going to be seen, and there's going to be the one that's going to be heard. Okay, so in context of matriarchy, right? Matriarchy are usually the people that are heard, and you guys don't see this, but your influence is immense. Trust me, your influence is immense. You just don't recognize that is influence. That is where your power lies.
Because we want to be the face.
Because you want to be seen, right? But the thing is that now men are more seen, but they're actually not heard. Trust me, the heard part is from the femininity, and I think that's where we move forward. When we acknowledge that, you know what, fine, you can be seen, I can be heard, and let society acknowledge that, and then we can move forward.
I like what you say, because now you're saying like both parties have to acknowledge their differences.
Exactly.
Because men, that's why I don't agree with the world version of equality where I have to play the same role as you so that I can be equal. We can play different roles, but we're all equal. And that's what I'm saying. Like, for instance, patriarchy and matriarchy, they can coexist if both parties acknowledge that, okay, this is because women are more emotional, intellectual than men. But that's the thing, as women, we need to realize that, okay, these are my strengths. As men need to realize, okay, these are my strengths as well, so that how can we coexist with one another? But
it goes back, you see, I said we must go back to culture. I said Ubuntu. That's the structure we used to live by, Emandulo, which is in the past, which is Umuntu ngabantu. It just means humanity. I am because we are, humanity towards others. So that just, in that used to be the whole way we used to live. Like, there was no matriarchy, patriarchy, that was just how we used to live. And in that, you don't hear anything about a male or female. We are because of, I am because we are. So I am because we are, that can be a female saying that. And you see, so that is, I really believe that we must just see our differences and just move forward from that.
I also think another thing is because like the leadership of men was assumed. It was assumed because we knew, like, we didn't have to like have these defining labels that a man is the head of the household. No, we knew that. It was in our nature. I knew that the woman was the neck. It was discussed. Like, you see, like the hurt part. I knew that I was hurt, but then came, I want to say evolution. I want to say colonization, but then came evolution. Whatever that evolution was, because it came in stages. It came in form of feminism. It came in form of colonialism. It came in form of gender equality and all of these things. That was the evolution that took place. And now I'm at a point where let's compete. And this whole competition is what's actually tearing us down, and it's holding us back. Because instead of like evolving to be better, we are actually deteriorating, and we are dying. We are really dying. I don't understand how people aren't feeling suffocated. Because this fight that we constantly have, again, woman is king, or woman king, whatever. What's the name of the movie?
King or something.
Woman king. Like, I was looking at the men and like, okay, I gotta actually like say that I appreciate the production and all of that.
We apologize for
But
the
what I
abrupt
did not
ending of this
appreciate was, like, how
episode.
these women were so tough.
Please
Like,
do
they
tune in
looked
for the next
masculine.
part. However, in an attempt to finish off the point we were making is that Woman King portrayed the female soldiers as very masculine, which goes against the whole feminist agenda. Because if we are supposed to be feminine and proud, how do we now exude that proudness and that pride if we are doing it with male tactics and being masculine? In a sense, it suggests that male people are superior to women, which also goes against their agenda. Thank you so much for tuning in, and do be sure to tune in to part 2. We really do apologize for the inconvenience caused by our technical difficulties. We will be working on it. Love and light from Mono Dialogues with Mackenzie.